Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome into Coffee Break presented by Bath Fitter. We're all together. Yay. What a great Monday.
Look at this.
How about this?
How about it?
Johnny,
We're all together
Probably
in
not.
studio for our very first time. We are super excited about it. We've got D-Mac, James Merrilat, Rachel Veal hanging out with you for the next 45 minutes as we got a lot of Nuggets, Avalanche, Broncos to talk about, gentlemen. How was your weekend, D-Mac?
Spent it with the Avalanche and the Nuggets primarily, so it was good. Both teams were pretty spectacular, and good news to report from Ball Arena, no doubt.
Mine was good. I had youth basketball. I had youth football. Got to go down to Dove Valley, watch my kids play inside the field house
there you go.
on Sunday morning. Went to the Nuggets game last night. It was fantastic. It was great.
So you don't come by and say hi. Me and Jake.
didn't. I saw you guys. I could look up and see where you were. Doug and I were trying to wave.
Try to wave. How
Yeah.
would we know to look for you if you didn't let us know
Well,
you were there?
I just figured you'd see us waving. We were waving frantically.
I saw Matt Smith and Richie Carney at the Avalanche game.
Okay.
Yeah, they had they looked comfy. They were together and all right, so are you going to rip? So you were ripping on Michael Malone.
Yes.
D-Mac's ready to get into
right from
it.
the game.
Yeah. I was
Okay.
because the seats that I was fortunate enough to be in were like second row, right behind the Nuggets bench. I could
Oh
watch.
my gosh,
I could watch
really?
Teflon Mike up close and personal and see him just botch things live, and it was amazing. Like his ineptitude in that game and the way, especially in the second half, up until overtime, he got out coached by Ty Lue was just remarkable. Just remarkable. Like I can't believe I have a voice today. I was yelling at him so much, just screaming at Michael Malone about how, hey, you might want to make an adjustment and double Kawhi Leonard when they go to him 15 straight times in the fourth quarter, and he keeps scoring over and over and over again. Lou starting Batum in the second half, and Malone didn't have an answer. It just was one thing after another. But hey, MPJ, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, they bailed him out, and he continues to look like a genius when he's not.
Yeah, James is so wrong about this, Rachel, but it's so good to be able to have this conversation in person, I suppose.
I feel both sides, maybe not as strong as James does on certain things, but I definitely do see, and we're going to get into it today in the show too, about how I'm a little nervous for the playoffs. When you're facing the same team, possibly 7 times, there's some things that maybe Michael Malone could struggle with. We're going to get into it, though. D-Mac, tell me why James is wrong. I'd love to hear it.
Well, first of all, they're trying to work things out with their second unit. The second unit was poor. In fact, it was Bones Hyland, of all people, who almost saved the day for the Clippers because that game was about to be an absolute blowout. So getting Thomas Bryant, getting Reggie Jackson in the flow of things, Christian Brown sat on the bench again.
Yep, till the final minute.
Yeah, listen, you got to figure certain things out as you go. And Malone did so. It was a back-to-back. They got blown out. A game that I said was absolutely meaningless, and it was. If you're going to lose by 10, lose by 50. Who cares? In fact, because Malone was able to rest guys in the fourth quarter, afterwards, talking to Malone, he said it was a good thing in a joking way because he did get rest for his starters, and you could tell. But later in the game, you could also tell it was wearing down. These back-to-backs are tough. I believe they got 2 more back-to-backs, but not many. Not many the rest of the way.
Yep.
Other than that, it is a bear to beat the Nuggets at Ball Arena. I mean, it's practically impossible.
Did they take the train back from Memphis? Is this 1938? Like, why was this back-to-back just so brutal? They took a bus right to the tarmac, got on the charter, had some fancy meal that they probably had a printed menu. Then they came home and they slept in their plush beds with whatever thread count on their sheets. Like, come on, we got to stop with these back-to-backs are such a grind.
Yeah, but it's not like you and I or Rachel or any of us compete at a world-class level. They do. So the degree of effort and energy that it actually takes is hard for you and I to sort of compare ourselves to. And if you want to just go with the old-fashioned days, who knows what quality of opponents and people they were really facing back then when you win on the back-to-backs. Listen, James, I got you with your, get off my lawn sort of thing here. But to think that it doesn't have an impact is absolutely ridiculous. You should give more credit to the team for figuring it out and getting the important wins when they matter. And last night was an important win.
It was huge.
I will say this. Last night had a playoff feel to it because both teams played everybody, right? I mean, it was all the stars for the Clippers. It was all the stars for the Nuggets. Even Aaron Gordon came back. He was rusty. You could tell he'd been out for quite some time. But it did have that feel to it. And look, they were able to pull it out in the end. And I give them a ton of credit for that. It was a fun game to be at. But They didn't pull it out because Michael Malone pushed all the right buttons. The possession late in the game, when they're down a point, and Jamal Murray has to throw up a 35-footer that barely hits the rim. KCP keeps the ball alive and tips it out, and then MPJ hits the three. Like, that was Michael Malone getting bailed out. That was awful execution in the half court, late in the game, down by a point. And Rachel, to your point about the playoffs, that's what you're going to see over and over and over again in the postseason, and I'm not convinced Michael Malone can draw it up. I was just curious sitting there when he had his whiteboard and his pen to see if he actually puts anything down onto the whiteboard, because it doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason to what they're doing coming out of timeouts.
Well, did you
but they
see
got
it
the win
happen?
last night. It was fun.
Did you see it?
Yeah, but it didn't look like it was, X's and O's, and didn't look like it made a lot of sense.
Okay. I don't know. I feel it. I'm worried. Like I said, I'm worried about the playoffs, and we're going to get into it a ton. But at the exact same time, there's also this part of me that's like, you have the big three. You have Jokic, which I will say the questionable one that came out of Jokic was when he gave the ball to Bruce Brown with 10, 15 seconds left?
They were caught off guard, though.
He got doubled a little bit. I mean, you kick it. I mean, he kicked it to Aaron Gordon in the past. He hit a huge three. You kicked it to Monte Morris last year against the Warriors. He hit a huge three. Like, it really, I prefer Jokic taking that shot, too.
Me too.
Trust me. But it's not like he hasn't got it, kicked it for an open shot, and they haven't hit it in the past.
But that's where you have to understand your role. That's not Bruce Brown's role, to be completely honest. It's Jokic to come down in the final seconds and to be the MVP. And I know he likes to give the ball away and all that, but this is his time, and I'm like, you just got to take it.
They got caught off guard, though, because in that possession, Kawhi Leonard was guarding Jokic, and the Nuggets didn't have a timeout because Fangio style, they wanted to challenge a call that they shouldn't have challenged late, and so they were out of timeouts and had to just go on the fly. Again,
I'm just checking here. They won, right? I'm sorry. They won
get
that.
it.
They did win the game
I
last
get
night,
it.
right?
That's why he's Teflon Mike, because you can't be critical of
Jokic
him.
went 40-17-10. Michael Porter Jr. listen, I think he's just a flat-out superstar. Before the game, Calvin Booth said he is worthy of his max contract, and I completely agree. And I was getting in a debate with our own Matt Smith about whether or not he's a superstar. And listen, I get the career numbers probably aren't there yet, but you just got to take a fair look at this dude. And after the game, I was asking him, and he was very receptive about talking about his role. And he did talk about how challenging it is to go 5 to 6 minutes without touching the ball at all. And in his younger days, he would not have handled that well. Mm-hmm. He has grown used to it. He has grown accustomed to it. And he has grown comfortable with that situation. This dude is a dude. He stays healthy. You won't believe what you're going to get out of Michael Porter Jr.
The best thing last night, I think his first 8 points were all scored at the rim.
That's right.
So Michael Porter Jr., when he is a scorer and not just a shooter, it does have superstar potential. I'm not willing to say he's there yet, but if you watch him last night, and if he could do that more consistently, which he has been in February, he's been great, then he is going to be a superstar. But that's the biggest knock on him is he tends to fall in love with his jump shot, stand outside the three-point arc, and just want to do that. Look, against Cleveland, he was knocking them down.
Not recently.
But last night, he was great, and it was when he's going to the basket and he's being a scorer, not a shooter. That guy is as good a scorer as anybody in the game.
I was blown away by that final three by him because you just knew it was going in. Like, you knew the place was about to erupt. I was jealous I was not in attendance like both of you.
It was great.
That was insane.
Malone, after the game, praised the crowd, rightfully so, and there was an intensity because Bones Hyland was back. Were you surprised how loud the crowd booed Bones when he came into the game?
Yeah, I thought it was disgraceful the way the Nuggets handled it. The way they had Kyle Speller just do the chuck it in again, Bones Hyland. Like, at least say his name so people know he's coming in. And so the fans who do want to cheer him can cheer him.
Who would those have been? Where were those people?
Me and my son, I stood up and cheered for him.
You were the only.
Michael Malone has turned Bones Hyland into a pariah. They've created this narrative that he was bad in the locker room. I stayed there and watched after the game as Bones Hyland went to every single former teammate, including Jamal Murray, who was sitting on the bench because he tweaked his back, and he comes up to Jamal and's like, "Hey, are you all right? You feeling all right?" They have a long conversation. They hug. So it's a bunch of nonsense that he didn't get along with his teammates. He didn't get along with one guy. He didn't get along with Teflon Mike, and that guy has created a narrative where one of the most popular players last year is now this guy that's getting booed, and the fact that the organization handled it like that was petty and disgraceful.
Before the game, real quick, Calvin Booth spoke, and I asked him about, why did you have to trade Bones? And he took a pause and a big sigh, and you could tell that this wasn't easy for them. He was a first-round draft choice. I mean, they really liked him, okay? But the fact was, once Jamal came back, and he cited the Minnesota game, and he said, well, it's just not fair that in a game against Minnesota, Jamal Murray has to guard their best player, Anthony Edwards. We don't get that help when Bones is in the game. And he didn't say it gloatingly or like he was happy about it. It was just kind of like frustrated, like we could not really get him up to speed as quickly as we needed to defensively for it to be a match. Because if he's going to play 20 and Jamal's going to play 34, they've got to play time together. And you're just killing yourself when you're exhausting one of your better players because he has to play such tough defense.
I get it. And if they would have explained that from the get-go, that would have been fine. But we've had 2 or 3 weeks now where the narrative in this town, and it was put out by the Nuggets, and the Nuggets media just accepted it like it was fact, was that Bones Hyland was a problem in the locker room, and they had to get rid of him because he was going to derail what happened.
He left the game.
I get
nine
it.
and a half
There
minutes
was
to
Twitter
go.
beef with Jamal.
There was.
Okay, but everybody just took that like it was the gospel.
James, you can't.
Like Mike Malone brought it down on a tablet from Mount Sinai, and here we go. And okay, we just got to run with it. And people didn't want to shoot any holes in that and say, really, can we use our own eyes and watch what happened last night and watch what happened before Bones got traded when he was sitting on the bench with Jamal? Like, they either were the best actors in the world or the narrative, to a large extent, was balderdash. And it is.
If you had a kid on your football team who was upset that he wasn't going to get any playing time because somebody else was better defensively, would you be like, sorry, kid, good luck? Or are you going to be like, it's okay, you can stick around and have all this issue?
But I would have a conversation with him, and I would try to explain to him why he's not getting playing time. And more than likely, because they're 8th graders, I would be explaining to the parents why he's not getting more playing time. And you have to communicate. If there's an 8th grade kid who's upset about his playing time, a 22-year-old kid who's upset about his playing time, whatever, the adult in the room has the responsibility to try to communicate with that person and get them to buy into what we're doing as a team.
You're not wrong, but when he leaves the bench in the middle of the game,
it's inexcusable.
There's really not a lot of coming back from that, and then you couple it with his defensive inefficiencies, and it is like how Calvin Booth expressed it. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. We wish him the best.
And
the temper tantrum didn't help him.
What's that?
The temper tantrum did not help him.
I don't disagree with that. And I don't disagree with the fact that him walking off the bench and going home is inexcusable. It is. But to think that's 100% on the 22-year-old kid, and it's not at all, like there was nothing that provoked him to do that. It is silly to me.
I think you have some fair points. The communication probably wasn't great. I've seen coaches not communicate with athletes. I think it's reprehensible. All of that could be true. All that being said, Bones Hyland with his teammates, to me, is somebody that you really like, but you realize we're just not going in the same direction. And we've all worked with people like that, who we can be friends with, but you really just don't want to work with.
No doubt. But if the Nuggets, at the time they traded him, had explained it the way Calvin Booth did last night, right? That, hey, with Jamal back and where we need to go defensively, especially in the playoffs and matchups, it just doesn't work, and use the Minnesota example. Does Bones Hyland get booed last night every time he touches the ball?
He does not. I thought of that. He was definitely vilified.
Exactly.
I was surprised. I was surprised that many fans were kind of so tuned into the drama, because the night before with Nazem Kadri, oh my God, guys. You could not have got different.
Right. And part of that, and credit to the Avs, right? They didn't position Kadri leaving as just a guy that's all about the money. He doesn't want to win. He wants to go chase the big dollars.
Which is funny, because that's exactly what he did.
Which is what he did. And I don't begrudge him for that. He should.
If he wanted to be back with the Avs, he could have taken a lesser deal.
Without a doubt.
Well, lesser cash, lesser time.
But the organization didn't position him that way. They embraced him when he came back. and he didn't get booed. He got treated like a hero.
Oh, my God.
Now, Bones
No.
Hyland is not a hero in this town, but a year ago right now, he was a very popular player that all these same Nuggets media people were telling me how great he is and how he's going to be a part of the future and all these other things. And it just is, it's sad to me how quick it changed. And I think it's petty on the part of the organization that they didn't explain it truthfully and instead tried to make him the bad guy. And last night was proof that Nuggets fans took the narrative. I just don't think the narrative is accurate.
Well, there's some cool behind-the-scenes stuff. DenverSports.com, I wrote about it. Jake Shapiro did some good reporting on it, and you can read all about it.
Absolutely. So you're more upset that the organization essentially made him the villain, less about the fans booing him.
Yeah, and it was Michael Malone. I mean, Calvin Booth last night was honest and was at least maybe took the high road. You could put it that way. His teammates haven't said anything bad about him. And listen, when I said it was disgraceful how they introduced him, I'm not on Kyle. I think Kyle was, given instructions on how to handle that.
Kyle does that for every player
I also
team.
hate
James.
the way they introduce the starting lineup for the other team.
Fine, but they've been doing it that way. Kyle's been doing that job, the PA announcer, for 18 years.
He hasn't always done the lineup that way. It's like a FedEx commercial from the 80s with the fast-talking guy. Can't stand it.
Also, Kyle does do nice intros for some of the former players. You can't say for all of the former players that he's like,
all right, listen, it was shady with Bones, right? So it wasn't great. We all get it. We all get it. And now Bones will likely, here's my prediction, will come back year after year for a few years. Probably on 4 or 5 different teams over the length of his career.
I thought you were saying he was going to come back to the Nuggets, and I was like, there's no chance.
I'll tell you this. Last night was probably the only meaningful moment that Bones Hyland will have coming back to play against the Denver Nuggets. Other than that, it's just going to be like, oh, yeah, remember that guy.
I just, maybe I'm just the one that, has too much heart. I felt bad for the guy. Because he was a guy
I feel that.
who last year, and if you go back, he had some big moments, and in the playoffs, like there was a game where it's like, hey, he actually kept him in it and could for a while go shot for shot with some of the Warriors, and now he's getting booed. On that same court.
He was getting booed loudly.
And they didn't have to go there. They didn't, because the Calvin Booth explanation makes perfect sense to me. And this is a team and a fan base who's thinking championship. And if you'd have explained it as, hey, we're about right now, and Bones Hyland is about 2 or 3 years down the road, we got to worry about right now. Great. Everybody parts ways. It's just you can handle it with class or you can handle it with pettiness. Michael Malone handled it with pettiness.
Okay. Well, Jamal Murray, the final shot that they showed of him on the TV broadcast, because again, I wasn't in the stands like 2 cool people here last night, was him clearly in some pain. Are we nervous? And we learned that it was back spasms. That was confirmed here to Denver Sports. Are we nervous about Jamal Murray's health moving forward?
No, he just was exhausted. I mean, James wants to say that everybody's like a rubber ball and can just play like 2 days in a row, and it's no big deal. I mean, he got extended 2 days. He did play probably a little bit more. Malone was staggering the lineup, playing some of the starters with the second team. He wasn't doing that in the previous couple of games, but he did do that last night. So Jamal just got some extra time. He came. We didn't even think he was going to speak in the post-game media session, and he wanted to speak. He volunteered to come out to speak. And yeah, he's tired, but he was hardly hampered that much. Listen, I don't know when they play again. They play in Houston. Houston is terrible. I mean, if Jamal Lillard just went for 71 against Houston.
That's a game to give him a night off. And I'm anti-night off.
Oh, so you're fine with load management against...
No, because he's injured. Like, I watched him shoot free throws in the third quarter, and he was clutching his back, shooting free throws in the third quarter. Late in the fourth, the trainer was doing something to his back, some sort of... like when you go to the chiropractor, like the electric pulse stimulator kind of thing on him. And then after the game, he was sitting on the bench and in obvious pain.
Clear pain.
So there's no reason when somebody's got a bad back to have him go play against the worst team in the league. But let's not act like he played 2 games in a row and now all of a sudden it's Cal Ripken, Lou Gehrig, and Jamal Murray because he played 2 games in a row.
Oh my Lord, James! I'm just explaining to Rachel that he's not seriously injured. He's just kind of a little exhausted. He's a little worn down.
No, he definitely had a back issue. It was bothering him the whole second half.
Faking it.
And to his credit, he played a lot of minutes in the fourth quarter and in overtime after hurting the back. So I give him a ton of credit for battling through it. But he's genuinely injured because he wasn't faking it for a quarter and a half plus overtime.
I can't believe I'm Captain Sunshine here. Like, I get ripped so often for being critical on so many things. I'm a purveyor of hope and truth here on Good Old Coffee Break.
Listen, I'm not. I just have the highest expectations for this team. So, like, I want to be able to know where if there's going to be any problems and be able to hopefully address them or to, like, know where my concerns are instead of getting, like, blackmailed come the NBA Finals. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, we had no idea about Jamal Murray having back spasms.
Admittedly, D-Mac, I'm a fatalistic Nuggets fan.
You are, man. What happened to you being a Nuggets fan your whole life?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you're just waiting for the worst thing to happen.
Yeah.
So last night, you had Aaron Gordon get flipped upside down.
Yeah,
and
that was
I was
good.
like, oh, gosh.
Yeah.
MPJ rolls his ankle on the 4-point play, and Jamal hurt his back, and I'm just like, oh, my gosh.
Thomas Bryant went down hard, too.
Yeah.
Thomas Bryant went
I was
down.
like, can we please just get to the postseason? Like, these last 20 games cannot go fast enough because you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And, I could run off the litany of things that have made me feel that way, from David Thompson falling down the stairs at Studio 54 to Alfonso Ellis blowing out his knee in a pickup game. It's always something.
Wow.
You just want him to get to the playoffs.
He's 20 more
He's
games.
scarred. He's scarred.
I am.
I am not a lifelong Nuggets fan, okay? I've lived here for 23 years. I grew up rooting for the Celtics, and we had some pretty good years against the Lakers back in the day. I'm not burned like that. My memories are not nearly as fatalistic. For me, my Nugget fandom basically started with Carmelo Anthony, right from Syracuse, winning us a national championship. That's right, us. I spent the money. That's right. And then it kind of goes from there. So I don't feel this way whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so I understand if there's injuries, but if there's injuries to any team, you're in big trouble. I love where the Nuggets are at. Absolutely love it. Last night, I asked, was that a good, did it callous you? Do you need that sort of thing? And Jamal Murray went there. He's a little tricky to talk to after the game, but he went there ultimately and agreed that these are the type of things that championship teams learn how to play together with. And Malone sort of has gone on that. I think this game was great for the Nuggets. I think you need a tough game against a team you could face in the playoffs, and you need to figure out how to win it, how to figure it out.
Bouncing back is important, too.
I just like using Westhoff quotes right off the bat. Figure it out. That's right. Broncos.
Hashtag figure it out.
All right,
Snapper.
so James and I both think Malone could possibly be in some hot water come the playoff time. Why do you not think? No, I'm just saying, just because of his coaching style. I'm not saying from somebody up above, from his coaching style.
Not getting fired just like how, no. How are you going to beat the Nuggets in Denver? Seriously. How exactly are you going to do it?
How many games if they played a full 7-game series against the Clippers after what you saw last night?
Against the Clippers, they win all 7. They have dominated the Clippers. They have figured out how to beat the Clippers. They've won 9 in a row against the Clippers.
That game last night was about 0.3 of a second away from being a painful loss when Paul George made the half-court shot that would have won the game. I mean, that was...
He was close. That was scary.
Yeah.
I mean, he traveled, but they ignored that part of it. So that's how close they were to losing that game. And look, Michael Malone is going to be in hot water if they get bounced in the playoffs by anybody but 4 teams.
Yep.
If they get to the NBA Finals and lose to Milwaukee or Boston, as long as it's not an embarrassing sweep, he's fine. If they lose to a Warriors team that we saw last year, they don't have to play together in the regular season. They can just show up. They're the same old Warriors. If they lose to that team in a competitive series, fine. And we'll see when Kevin Durant joins the Suns. But if that team comes together in the final 20 games and you lose to Phoenix in the NBA Finals in 7, okay, nobody's going to be, or the Western Conference Finals in 7, nobody's going to be trying to run them out of town. Yeah. But if anything short of that, if they get bounced in the first round or the second round, that guy should be gone because he is the weakest link. He is injuries and Michael Malone, the 2 things that can prevent the Nuggets from winning their first ever title.
I think likely the Nuggets are going to have a run in the postseason just like the Avalanche. They're probably going to sweep a series or 2. They'll struggle maybe with one team. Maybe it does come in the second round. And then here we go into the NBA Finals. They're that good. It's their year. Yep. Let's go.
I'm with you. Let's talk about the Avs, though, because holy smokes, they're on fire now, and they're bringing back Jack Johnson.
Yeah, that's an interesting move. Brings more experience than Andres England. I'm fine with it. It's a real back end of the roster sort of move. It's your third D-line pairing. They're going for, he's in his 17th season. I think England's like 27. But it's okay. It's an okay sort of move. It's not groundbreaking. Jack's a super nice guy, so that'll go over great in the locker room. Not that Andres isn't. But that will sort of buoy their spirits a little bit more than England probably gives them. And on the ice, it is just that experience. We did see experience like with Darren Helm. Really nothing during the season, but boy, was he great in the postseason. And the number one acquisition was fourth liner Andrew Cogliano. What he added in terms of depth and experience really mattered late. So Helm with that huge goal against St. Louis, Cogliano top to bottom and coming back from an injury in the playoffs made a big difference. So I think Jack Johnson's like that. Listen, people should be encouraged by this because it's a sign the Avs want to win right now. They're not. I was a little interested in that, like how they did give away a little bit of the future for the right now. So I like it. They're trying to take advantage of it. They're getting stuck with this second line center deal. There just isn't like a really good candidate. Like Kane wants to go to New York, okay? He has no interest in coming here to Colorado. He wants to go with the Rangers. Taves, Jonathan Taves is just, out. He's got, issues with all sorts of stuff. And Ryan O'Reilly already got dealt to Tampa. So you really are going to rely on JT Compher as your 2C.
Yep.
And you got to find something else. I'd really love another winger because I think Rodriguez is kind of so-so. I would see him moving down the third line. And you hope your big acquisition in the playoffs is actually Gabriel Landeskog. You hope that happens. But what I love is they are no longer, and I think they were for a little bit, they are no longer making injuries as an excuse. And you know who's doing that? Nathan freaking McKinnon. Because he wants to fight everybody. And when he fought that Blues guy last year, and not the Blues guy, help me out. He fought somebody.
I was going to say, I remember the fight.
It was a dumb fight.
It was.
We all thought he had hurt his hand.
Yep.
And so
he came home early from the road trip.
He did. It was bad. But you know what I realized as he was trailing after Mikael Backlund? Because it was funny watching his post-game on Canadian. There was some sort of post-game Canadian TV show. And it was a riot because they asked him, why did you do it? He goes, I really don't know. And he looked at the hit and he goes, oh, that wasn't even like a dirty hit.
Matt Dumba against the Wild.
Matt Dumba, that's right.
How could we forget?
It was a Dumba play. But what I realized is McKinnon's just got to unleash. And you know what? I hate to say because this is different than I was last year. If he feels like he needs to get in a fight, and I don't want him to do it because it's dangerous, but that is the spirit, the grittiness, just the everything that's inside of Nathan McKinnon that you actually really need. So I'm not saying I'm for the fighting, but I'm here to say I'm not against it either in the right scenario. That switch has been flipped with Nathan McKinnon. As I wrote in DenverSports.com, he is like sandpaper. He is just irritating and gritty and annoyed to hell if they're not winning. I think you could use some balance with Gabriel Landeskog being around, and he is around, which is good because McKinnon would drive you nuts about everything. If he sees a carb on the table, he's going to make you feel guilty. But his intensity, guys, is the number one thing that propelled the Avalanche to the Stanley Cup last year. And against the Flames, I felt that, and I saw it, and I could feel it inside of the locker room. It was such a difference from that Tampa Bay overtime loss where I thought they were just flat out soft. But they have won 11 out of 12 points in 3 back-to-backs. They are the hottest team in the NHL. They are rolling with a huge game against Vegas tonight.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And it's why after the postseason last year, I wrote that he should have won the Conn Smythe instead of Cale Makar. And everybody was all upset. It's like, he's the most important player.
No doubt.
He's the straw that serves to drink, to go back to the old Reggie Jackson thing from the 70s with the Yankees. He's that guy. And I don't want him getting in fights. Because if he breaks his hand and is out for the rest of the year, they're toast.
Yeah, but you can't stop him from wanting to fight everybody.
Fine, I'm cool with him wanting to fight everybody.
Did you see how Backlund was just running away?
Anybody.
Backlund ran away like 3 different times. He shrugged his shoulders at his own bench like, what did I do? And he really didn't do anything. He just kind of checked McKinnon in the boards. It wasn't a penalty or anything.
You got to find the way to have that attitude and that edge without actually going over the cliff and having the fight. But I'm with you in terms of being right at that line. That's where he needs to be. The Jack Johnson acquisition, you go through, and we saw it last year, and you mentioned a few of them. It's, to win 16 games, a couple of those are going to be, wow, that was a unlikely hero. Yeah. Could he be that in a game, a Helm or a Sturm or somebody like that? It's that kind of an acquisition.
Well, don't forget, too, it's really a switch out because Eric Johnson is likely lost for the entire season, okay, including the playoffs with a broken ankle.
They haven't put it back on or on IR yet, though,
he's not on LTIR yet, but with the trade deadline is right around the corner, so let's see what they do.
Oh, he is on IR.
It's hockey, okay? Oh, okay. It's hockey. You never know what these guys do. Look at Gabriel Landeskog. Look how long he's been out. Think about how long he was out before the playoffs last year, and he still played in the playoffs. So I'm not saying Eric Johnson could possibly be completely out. These guys do ridiculous thing. Nazem Kadri's thumb, he had thumb surgery. He should have been out for 8 weeks. He was out for 18 days and came back and scored that overtime cup final winner. Listen, it's hockey, so I'm not going to write off EJ completely, but really, this is a Johnson switch. This is a Jack Johnson for Eric Johnson, and it's third line D, okay? Just so that we can figure out how to not play Curtis McDermott during the playoffs. That's what we got to really figure out.
I was shocked by that fight. He got him perfectly enough to just knock him down.
Well, Lucic is a world-class hockey fighter. That fight was dumb. Okay, like as much as I was into like the McKinnon stuff, that to me those are scheduled NHL fights. I think they slowed things down. I think they're boring. It was embarrassing, frankly, for McDermott because he got leveled. And guess what? He goes into the concussion protocol, so you don't have him. Your other fighter, by the way, is England. And he's not on the team anymore. But listen, this is. Scrappiness and feistiness and being able, like what Nathan McKinnon was doing, is some of the better parts of hockey. Two goons lining each other up to slow and stop the game, that only helps the other team. Yeah. I hope we all realize that.
No doubt.
That only helps teams playing against the Avalanche. Curtis McDermott, he's a nice enough guy. I've had plenty of fine interactions with him, but that guy on the ice for the Avalanche is bad news. He's not as good a skater. He doesn't contribute anything. He draws stupid penalties. And, he fights, but fewer and fewer guys even have fighters. But they do. The Flames have Lucic, so they fought. It was dumb. He got leveled. And then you saw real hockey later on.
Well, the Avs played tonight against the Golden Knights, who will be debuting a left winger named Ivan Barbashev.
Well said.
Barbashev.
Yep.
Thank you.
IB.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I'm going to say that. So he'll be out tonight. Over/under is 6 goals. Are you taking it?
They've had some real issues in goaltending. They have been all over the place with their goaltenders. Over 6 goals, total goals. So like a 5-2 final. Golly. Boy, that'd be great. I'll go with the over, sure. Why not? The Avs are on a freaking roll. They're playing incredible, and McKinnon is a dog with a bone. I'll go 5-2 Avs. I'll take the over.
Now, I have no idea why I know this, but I think they've split the season series so far. Okay. I think both games have been 3-2, so I'm going to go with the under.
Okay, there you
Look
go.
at you.
Now,
Man, holy cow.
Jake can tell me if I'm wrong,
Wow.
but that's just popped into my head.
That is actually
We need
impressive
a
as hell.
stat check real quick on that. Interesting. Yeah, that
Wow.
was impressive.
Okay.
Do you know when they played last?
No, I have no idea.
I can't tell you either.
They
It's
are.
been a couple of weeks
Vegas
for sure.
is in first place, but because the Avs did that silly trip to a wonderful country in Finland. They have just been.
Also, the amount of people that have come at you because you said it was a stupid
Wait,
trip or
you
like
hate
to a
Finland?
stupid place.
No, I love Finland.
Why do you hate Finland?
I love and I want to welcome the Eurolanche fan base. There's like 15 guys hanging out at Red Rocks from assorted European countries.
Man.
What's up, Eurolanchers? I think it's wonderful you're here. Love Finland. The trip was so stupid. I can't even tell you. It meant absolutely nothing. It has put them games behind. You played the Blue Jackets. I mean, who cares? No, that was a dumb trip to a wonderful land of enchantment, and now the Avs have to pay the price. They have so many games. I think they have something like 26 games in 48 days, something like that. I mean, if you like hockey, get ready. And they're facing a lot of really good opponents too. However, that being said, they have one little weird road trip Saturday, I think, to Dallas. In fact, I know it's to Dallas on Saturday. Yep. Other than that, 7 of the next 8 games are actually here. So while it's a condensed schedule against tough opponents, the vast majority of those games recently are going to be here. So let's go Avs, go on a run, and they've got me believing again. I was definitely a doubter there for a while. And everybody who just said, they'll just magically be back, balderdash, to quote you.
I told you they'd flip the switch.
Well, yeah, but they had to do something about it. They couldn't just sort of have it magically happen. So I give them credit for the work it took, and I give extra credit to Nathan McKinnon and side credit to Mikko Rantanen for shouldering that burn the vast majority of the season. This is like a marathon runner that's being paced, and now in the last mile he gets to run by and get all the glory. That's Mikko Rantanen with Nathan McKinnon right now.
We'll take it. You were correct. Great job on that stat.
3-2?
That's
Twice?
amazing.
Twice.
How did you know that?
The random things that are in my brain. I have no idea.
That is actually ridiculous.
Moving on to the Denver Broncos, though, it seems like their coaching staff has been completed. They hired a running backs coach today. We know Joe Lombardi will be the offensive coordinator. These are really a bunch of, besides Joe, I feel like I'm kind of like, who are all of these names?
Well,
How do you feel about the
they're
staff?
names that Shady Sean Payton knows, at least on the offensive side.
Yep.
4 out of the 7 offensive coaches are direct ties. The sports and science guru, Geary, is that his name? Something like that. He goes back with Payton, the fat strength coach. He's a Payton disciple.
But otherwise, I'm like, I'm not sure who a lot of these people are. Besides
It is
the
a
big
very
names.
anonymous group.
Yeah.
And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I mean, the two names that we all kind of know, well, 3. We all know their coordinators,
Yep.
right? We all know Joe Lombardi.
Yep.
When you're Vince Lombardi's grandson, that's going to help. But he was the Chargers offensive coordinator. He got fired. He got the blame for the blown lead against the Jaguars in the playoffs. We all know VJ.
Yep.
Right? Like, geez, okay, let's go on vacation with our ex and bring him back in 4 years. And then we all know Mike Westhoff, who I guess isn't the coordinator, but he's on the special team
He's
side
in
thing,
charge.
assistant head coach. He was the star of Rex Ryan's team when they were on Hard Knocks with the Jets. So we all know those guys. The rest of them, I don't know. But you know what? It can't be worse than the merry bunch of buffoons that was down there last year. So sign me up.
I mean, technically, it could get worse, which is concerning.
Could it? Could it get worse?
It could. They could win like one game.
No, it's well, they still have Russell Wilson, right? And they still have George Payton. So she's technically not wrong. She's not wrong.
I mean,
not.
the record
They still
could
have
be
Russell
worse.
Wilson. They still have George Payton.
The record could be worse, but the way they were coached and the dysfunction and the debacle, it can't possibly
You're telling
get worse.
me even if things are better off the field and they aren't producing a product that can win games, you're going to tell me that last year was worse?
It depends on how they're losing. Like, they were losing last year because of coaching, because of disorganization, because of...
So instead, just bad play is
No,
totally
they just
fine.
lose now because of Russell Wilson.
I mean, if you lose
Lack of
because
talent.
you don't make plays, that's different than you lose because you decide to settle for a 64-yard field goal, or you can't get plays in on time, or you have to, instead of kicking a 54-yard field goal, you have to punt because you couldn't make a decision, and you take a delay of game penalty. It's just like, oh my
But is
gosh.
Russell Wilson still going to do motivational speeches inside of the huddle, even though he has the play and plenty of time?
And I'm going to put in a little plug for my column today at denversports.com.
Love it.
You need to check it out, D-Mac. There's this whole story about Russell Wilson and is he fixable? He's already fixed. That was my takeaway from that piece in The Athletic. He's already fixed. The problem was all the coaches. All the negative quotes in that entire piece were from former coaches. They were bitter that they got bounced out of here because they didn't have any control of what was going on. His teammates didn't say anything negative about him. Right? They didn't. He got the head coach he always wanted. And when he was asked to change, he didn't dig in his heels. He wasn't stubborn. He's like, that's fine. I'll go back down to the locker room. No big deal. Russell Wilson's already fixed. Stop panicking.
Do you
Stop
know he's
worrying.
out of the office?
Yeah, he was out the last 2 weeks last year.
Oh, okay.
He was willing to
true.
do
We
it
did
for
see
Jerry
that.
Rosberg and Justin Outen. He'll walk over coals
Didn't
for
do it
Sean Payton.
Jerry Rosberg and
He's
Justin
fixed.
Outen.
People need to stop worrying. That story, if you read, and when you read it at denversports.com, I break it down. If you read it through the right lens, which is just don't be negative about everything in the world, Russell Wilson comes out looking great in that piece.
Russell Wilson and my cat Rachel, and I do have a cat named Rachel,
It's a great name.
have something in common. Neither one is fixed, and it's a problem for both. So we'll see where it goes. But Russell Wilson is toast. It's not
Oh, my
fixed.
gosh.
He's done. The best thing the Broncos can do is bring in Jameis Winston or another quality
Wow.
quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater would give him a better shot to win.
I'm here for Teddy B to return.
Wait.
Baker Mayfield would
Teddy
be great
Bridgewater would give them a better chance to win.
than Russell Wilson.
Because
yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater's ever won what? He's
He's won games for Sean Payton in the past. He knows their system. Listen, it's an 8-win season, James. However you want to cook it.
How many are you saying?
12.
Okay.
I mean, I've enjoyed.
There we
you know
go.
what? I'm just sitting here thinking about all those great Super Bowl moments from Teddy Bridgewater. Those wonderful playoff
James,
moments
they're not even close to a Super
from
Bowl
Teddy
team.
Bridgewater.
Oh, what do you?
The Teddy Bridgewater. I may have to just take a pause here to just all the memories of Teddy and those big wins. Making a business decision against the Eagles. Like, yeah, that's who we need to bring back here.
Listen, they are nowhere close to being a
come
Super Bowl
on.
team because they're not set up the right way. But it's a lot of steps in the theoretical right direction. I love the fact that we now know about Shady Sean Payton and exactly how he operates. Do as I say, not as I do. Anonymous donors, all that sort of stuff. So, but I'm fine that I just understand what the deal is. when you get the third choice as your head coach and he gets probably his sixth choice as defensive coordinator, you realize there's going to be certain bumps in the road. George Paton's weak leadership and Russell Wilson's absolutely inadequate ability to play quarterback are going to be difficult things to overcome. But I like to know where I stand with Sean Payton, so I'm actually okay with them. I'm actually all right. And I went through the coaching staff, and I give it an A. I give the hiring of the coaching staff an A because I like how it's put together.
I wish you were the teacher in my 8th grader's math class. That would help if you're dishing out A's like that. Because I don't give this coaching staff anywhere near that kind of
Where do you
marks.
take off credit?
I think VJ to begin with. Like VJ,
he was absolutely the best possible option under the criteria they had, which was a guy who had been there and done it before. He was it. If you want to get an F, hire Rex Ryan, hire Matt Patricia, and bring that
Patricia, I'm with you.
Patriots, garbage.
Instead, bring. I don't know how you can give a guy who had the second worst defense in the league in terms of points allowed last year an A, and a guy on the offensive side who got fired by the Chargers.
Because
that's
because in his second year, VJ had the 8th best defense, and then the third year he had the 6th best. In his 4th year, it wasn't great. Lombardi, hey, listen, man, I get it, but I put more of that on Brandon Staley with the Chargers than Lombardi. And listen, I understand your hesitation, but the most important thing is Shady Sean Payton has somebody that he likes working with and he's comfortable. He's going to be running the show, not Lombardi. So I really don't care that Lombardi fits the Justin Outen mold. Make sure the coffee's hot. Sean Payton is running the offense, and as long as he's comfortable with the people around him, it doesn't matter if he even knows the defense. They should all wear name tags on the defense. It's like the dance, and the two offense and defense coaches are like on different sides of the gym, waiting for that slow jam to see who's going to get with who. But in reality, it's going to be two different teams. VJ's defense that he was assigned to coaching staff, that might be a little bit of a negative, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's
and
a
then
worry.
Sean Payton in the offense. But the biggest thing that you need to do isn't fix the defense. The defense is going to be all right. There's a couple of holes to fill, but more or less they have the core of their guys coming back. And if they play well and are healthy, we all hope that it happens, they should be fine. It should be a top maybe 10 to 13 defense. It should be good enough. How do you fix Russell Wilson? That's the issue. I'm not putting that on Lombardi. I'm putting that on Sean Payton.
So he can't play any quarterback. Can't play quarterback anymore. Did you see in the final home game the throw he made rolling to his left and throwing it 50 yards downfield and hitting Jerry Jeudy in stride? That's a guy who can't play quarterback?
Wow, the one moment. One moment.
And it was a good one.
How about the week before, the 20-yard touchdown run against the Chiefs on the option?
James, I'm here for it, man. I'm not rooting against them. Maybe it sounds like I am, but I am not. If I can be wrong on this one, I'll be happy to be wrong. You don't see many quarterbacks in their mid-30s that all of a sudden switch that flip.
There's 5 guys in the league that can make that throw, and he's in the group.
That is ridiculous.
Mahomes
can make that throw.
Oh my
Allen can make that throw.
Tua Tagovailoa can make
Burrow?
the flow.
Oh, he cannot.
Jalen Hurts can make the throw. Justin Fields can make the throw.
If Tua would have made that
I'll give you
throw,
Tua.
Jerry would have had
Brock
to wait
Purdy,
for it.
Brock
and had
Purdy
to
can make the throw.
stopwatch. 1,000, 2,000.
I mean,
Is it ever going to get here?
It was a good throw.
Brock Purdy can make that throw?
Sure. They're all really good
I don't
athletes.
agree with, but Tua, I'll give you.
Dude, they are the transformers, these NFL athletes. The quarterbacks are the transformers of the transformers. Whoever that would be, I'm not a nerd enough to know who the
Are you going to
Transformers-
Mike Evans this and tell me Andy Dalton can make that throw?
Andy Dalton could not make that throw. He's
Okay.
an old
All right.
statue.
Teddy Bridgewater couldn't make that throw.
Teddy Bridgewater would have a hard time with that throw, but he's not a starter. I'm just talking about backups there to control a game. No, the vast majority of starters, most of them being young, unbelievably talented, could actually make that throw. But it was a good throw, James.
There aren't a lot of guys that could even get outside the pocket and make that to buy the time and to make that throw rolling to your left. A handful of guys.
Okay,
can
so
make
you
that throw.
promise we're going to see more of that throw.
Yes.
Than
Yeah.
the throw to Tyree.
that was during the
throw to Tyree Cleveland against the Colts that got picked off.
That was during the stretch in which
you
Russell
paused
Wilson was already fixed. He's already fixed, unlike your
All
cat.
right. All right, he's fixed. Fantastic. My cat is not. Let's see who's got what in common.
All right. How much do we know Russell Wilson had injuries, and I think that obviously plays into some of the play we saw last year, but how serious do you think the injuries actually were, or do you think it was more of an excuse?
I think he had some stuff going on, for sure. I do. And I think, there's a mentality and ethos of just battling through things. And it's always a scale of how hurt you are compared to how much better you are than the other guy.
And the older you get.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
think
easier.
those scales were disproportionately going against Russell Wilson. There's probably more time that he actually really needed to take off. Never mind coming back from a concussion as well. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one.
So do you think that they possibly would have won more games if he hadn't been injured?
Oh, there's a million ways they could have won more games, and not playing Russell Wilson was one of them. Like, if you wanted to shot...
Wait a minute.
Brett Rippon would not
Brett
have won
Rippon
games.
gave him no chance. They
Zip zero.
They beat the Jets at home with almost any other quarterback in the league other than Brett Rippon that day. The only reason Brett Rippon got a win is because he went up against Colt McCoy and McSorley, like against a bad Cardinals team, when he actually was able to put some
You
points
just
on
don't
the board
realize
against
how
VJ.
bad,
It's like,
how bad
our
Russell...
defensive coordinator
You don't
now.
realize how bad Russell Wilson really was last year, James. It's not really clicking in, like, how
But if he
poor...
was
I know
hurt,
how bad
you
he
gotta add
was.
a couple of bonus points on there,
Listen,
right?
I'll give credit to Russell Wilson. I think he's a tough dude, and I think he exemplifies a lot of really positive traits for world-class athletes, meaning they want to play through things and they're not looking for easy excuses. It's not Paxton Lynch crying on the sidelines because he has a boo-boo and he's not playing well against the Raiders, okay? Yeah, Russell Wilson has those things. Like Cale McCarr insisted on coming back in a game that he should have been held out of. You got to be smart with guys. But Russell Wilson is not. Man, you're telling me he's like this, went like that, and now he's about to climb
I
back
think
up.
this was because he was playing for a head coach who had no idea what he was doing.
All right, so here we
and
go.
their offense was a mess. But here's why everybody in Broncos country at least should respect Russell Wilson. We all saw when he got the concussion, right, against the Chiefs here, when he was leading a comeback that he probably would have pulled off had he got knocked out of the game. He had the big old goose egg on his head. The season was going nowhere. It would have been really easy for Russell Wilson to tap out.
100%.
And not only did he not tap out, but in the last 2 weeks of the year, he's running around, he's running option, he's out there playing like a 24-year-old, not a 34-year-old. So there's a lot of things to criticize Russell Wilson for. And he got a little big for his britches, literally and figuratively, and tried to do too much last year. And he did. But to me, that's what people who are overly ambitious do. And when you cross the line, like, yep, that's too much, you're willing to come back. Okay, but the fact that he played down the stretch in meaningless games for Jerry Rosberg and Justin Houghton, I'm going to tip my cap to that, and I'm going to say that's a guy I want as my quarterback versus a guy who watches Darius Slay run by for a touchdown and goes, I don't want to put my head in there and try and make a tackle.
Well,
no, thank you.
I'm not going to be accused of rooting against him just because I think I'm speaking the truth here. Okay? So listen, if I'm wrong about it, so be it. The best thing is for me to be wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
The best thing, period. Because if they win 8 games this year, now what? Seriously, now what? Listen,
That's NFL purgatory, and they're not going to be in that range. They're going to be
Okay.
a double-digit win team. I think they
I
can
don't
flip
want people.
5
I
and
don't
12
want
to
people
12 and
here
5.
all doing victory laps when they won their 5th game of the year, and when they're sitting there at 5 and 6. I don't want to hear about like how incredible the season is because you haven't done anything yet
But I don't
except
think
to
you will.
enter purgatory.
Once
Once you get there, you got to get out of it after you win your 5th game.
I will be insufferable on this show when they clinch the playoffs in early December. I will be insufferable.
I hope you are.
I hope you are right.
Wait a second. He already is.
That's why it's a guarantee.
We'll see. We'll see.
You know what's great? If they do win and they are like that, you know what? Somehow it'll be Michael Malone's fault.
Teflon Mike.
You're pro Michael Malone and anti Russell Wilson.
how would that actually-
That's such an odd combination to me. But
Right,
okay.
right.
Okay.
Hold on, let me back up. I'm pro the guy that has his team in first place by by like 5.5
In spite of him.
games.
But how
In
many
spite
years
of
did
him.
it take?
And I'm anti the guy, according to your words, was out of shape and failed miserably, making $50 million a year. What a whack job I am! I mean, I am cuckoo.
But you got to give Russ a little bit of time. Give him a
He
little
doesn't
bit of
have
time
any
to
time.
hopefully cook.
He has no time. This is it. What you gave up for him. It is a disaster right now because of what you gave up for him. Peyton Manning in his first year went to the playoffs, lost dramatically to the Ravens, which sucked, but that was arguably their best season. Tom Brady in his first year won a Super Bowl with Tampa. Matthew Stafford gets traded. He wins a Super Bowl. You were humiliated last year with Russell Wilson. Period. That's in the bank, man. That's not a developmental year. That's in the bank.
Back to your question about the injuries, though. They were 2-1.
Yep.
He threw a deep ball to KJ Hamler, got down to the 2-yard line, then ran in the touchdown to cut it to 25-23 late against the Raiders. Ejiro Evero and his world-class defense couldn't get off the field in the last 7.5 minutes of that game, but they were 2-1. If they can get the ball back there and he's not hurt on his throwing shoulder, who knows what things, how they may have turned out differently. But I do think the injuries played a part in it. But the biggest factor was Nathaniel Hackett. That is going to, over the test of time, we're going to look back and go, oh my gosh, was that guy inept? And he was inept because he tried to do too much of what Russell Wilson wanted to do instead of just saying, this is the offense, I'm the boss, here's what we're doing. The injuries were a part, but Nathaniel Hackett was number one.
Which leads me to say George Payton is actually problem number one because he told
He
told Hackett, let Russ do whatever he wants.
He signed off on it.
Therefore, problem number one.
Anyway,
That's
By the way,
a full conversation.
I love that Athletic article, and everybody wants to blame Hackett. All this crap was happening with George Payton and Greg Penner in the building, too.
That's very fair.
Boy, I am so tired
Problem
of
number one.
people giving Greg Penner this crazy free pass, dude. Is it a toy, or are you serious about this stuff? Because this crap was happening like steps down, theoretically, from your office. You worked for the Broncos. How often were you on the second floor?
In 3 years, I was probably on the second floor a dozen times.
Well, according to Orlando Franklin, that's double the time that
and
Orlando
I never
Franklin
saw a player
was.
up there ever once.
Right.
Now it was always bizarre. Like I'm this 25-year-old kid that a year ago I was sitting in the stands booing the officials, and now I'm just able to walk up onto the second floor and nobody's stopping me. I kept
You
waiting
probably
for
still moved out of
someone...
the way, though, when somebody important walked by, didn't you?
Yeah. And
You
it would
were
be
like, go to the wall.
It would be Pat Bolin or Mike Shanahan or Ted Sundquist, and I'm like, this is surreal.
Yeah.
All right, but fine. You're proving my
believe it.
point. The whole office thing. I mean, how does that not dawn on Greg Penner? This
Terrible
is a little
idea.
weird.
Terrible
and
idea.
Greg Penner was doing exploratory conversations with people. Wouldn't you just simply ask, is this something that should happen? And if you're not asking that, that's on you too.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, Greg Penner, it's not all Hackett's fault. I get it. There were moments. I understand that for sure. But George Payton and Greg Penner run the facility. I mean, they run the building.
Yep.
Well, yeah, somebody should have known better. And when a kid misbehaves, I don't blame the parent, or I don't blame the kid, I blame the parent. And Nathaniel Hackett, George Payton, Greg Penner should have been the parent in this situation. Russell Wilson was
Therefore,
just seeing what he could get away with.
Who is problem number one?
Russell Wilson.
If you want to make it George
No.
Payton, that's fine. I
That's
won't
dad
argue
in
that.
this situation.
It's Hackett and Payton.
Yeah,
You
but
can flip
Dad
that.
doesn't
my
have
God.
to. Dad doesn't have to take the phone away if the kid doesn't skip school. You're fine until the kid screws up. The
But
kid
it's
does,
still on your
Who gives the boundaries?
parent.
the parent does.
Right.
If you have a good kid, your kid is not skipping school.
Listen, you just got to adopt the right kid.
Oh my gosh. Okay, really quickly, we want to talk about Draymond Jones because we know his agent is going to be meeting with the Broncos this week to figure out if they can work out a deal or what's going to happen. Are we still, it's time to move on, or are we, hey, let's keep Draymond
I think
100%?
he's going to the Bears. I think the
Ooh.
Bears have a ton of money. I saw a preview of like what player would fit what team.
Yeah.
There was some sort of right tackle from Atlanta that apparently is great for the Broncos. Here we go with the right tackle carousel. Oh, he's 6'7", 310 pounds. Won't he be great for a year? But I think Draymond Jones, the Bears have a weird amount of money to be spent.
And they're going to move the first round pick, apparently, according to
Yeah,
ESPN.
they are, because Justin Fields he will be a top 10 quarterback. He already is a top 15 quarterback. Don't even tell me about the running back stuff. I don't want to
Wait,
hear
did
it.
you say top 10?
Yeah, but we can get into that later if you want to yell at me about it. That being said, they're going to stick with Justin Fields. They're going to drop. If they could have it anyway, they would drop back to 2 and then drop back to 5 because the quarterback market is going to be red hot. And that Richardson kid out of Florida, that kid I think we're sleeping on him. So there's 4 possible quarterbacks that could go in the top 10. There's going to be desire for them because teams are smart, unlike the dumb Broncos who took Bradley Chubb over Josh Allen. There's teams that are going to understand the value of drafting a quarterback. The Bears could actually really pile up the picks here if they do it the right way, and with their available money, they can overspend. So look for Draymond Jones to get way more money than he's worth and be a Chicago Bear.
You go back and look, when they traded away Bradley Chubb, I was one of the very few people who was upset about it. Most people were saying, oh, what a coup by the great George Payton to get a first-round pick. And they had to save that money so they can pay Draymond. All right, well, then you better pay Draymond. Right? I get tired of the lack of short-term memory in this town when all the spin doctors put that out there to justify the Broncos making a bad move and taking a step backwards in talent, and then they never remember to pay it off. So I'm going to save the receipts on all the people that said that's why they traded Bradley Chubb. They also went 2-7 after they traded Bradley Chubb. Draymond Jones is their third best defensive player. You don't get better letting that guy walk out the building. So they better re-sign him.
Third best.
It's Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons, Draymond Jones.
So you like Draymond Jones better than Baron Browning or
by a mile.
Gregory? You like
Randy
him?
Gregory never plays.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy Gregory, when he's healthy, is in that conversation.
You like him better than DJ Jones?
I think DJ Jones is fourth.
Okay.
I'm with you.
It's a tough one. I'm not trying to get rid of Draymond. I like Draymond a lot too. It's a good, interesting conversation what his actual value is. I'm just telling you, he's going to get way overpaid by Chicago. That's it. And the Broncos aren't going to be able to compete with it if they want to do a bunch of other stuff that they need to do, unfortunately, because their offensive line is such a disaster. Don't forget, you're losing Dalton Risner, and I think you are losing Dalton Risner, and you have no right tackle. So between what you have to do at guard and right tackle, somebody's going to be a financial casualty.
You know what I also don't want to hear? I don't want to hear George Payton tell me how, oh, hey, we're going to draft and develop, and we're going to keep our own people. All right, well, Draymond Jones falls into that category. Right, he's a guy that he's not here yet, but he has Trevor Price type potential
it's a bummer,
on the defensive line.
It sucks.
You got to find the money to do it.
Yeah.
They have the 12th most cap space in the league. I get tired of hearing this narrative of they're in cap trouble. Nonsense. First of all, there is no such thing in the NFL. You can always figure out a way around
James,
it.
how are they supposed to compete with a team that has endless supplies of money like the Bears do?
Because you have
something like that.
endless supplies of cash to spend, and you can
Are you
restructure
going to
all
make
sorts of
Draymond
deals.
Jones next to Russell your highest paid player on the team?
He should be paid more than Cortland Sutton.
Well,
he should be paid more than some of the other guys that are in that category.
You're suggesting next to Russell Wilson, he would be the highest paid
All right, well,
player
who are they
on
spending
the
the money on instead?
right tackle and guard. You got to spread the wealth, and probably middle linebacker is
well, the best guard
linebacker.
on the free market, on the open market, is Dalton Risner. That's the best guard on the open market. So if that's the case, then George Payton dropped the ball again, letting it get to this situation. He should have re-signed him a year ago, gotten a hometown discount, and everybody could have moved on.
But really, who's going to sign him? So you may be able to get him for
They'll play that game. I think they're going to move on no matter what. We'll see. But they have to replace it somehow. You have to replace right tackle. Are you signing Alex Singleton, or are you looking to do better inside linebacker?
They can find a million guys to make tackles 7 yards downfield.
All right. Listen, James, if
Who
you
cares?
want to
Alex Singleton is so replaceable.
Okay.
He's a guy.
James, go for it. You want to spend so much money on Draymond Jones and make him the second most valuable player on the team. That's what you're advocating for.
That's what the market suggests. He became a free agent at the right time. That's what he's going to get. He ain't going to be the second highest paid player down the road when they have to give Pat Surtain a second deal and some of those things. But, it's not my money, right? And as long as you have the cap space and you're not setting yourself up for trouble down the road, spend the money. That's why we all wanted the richest owner in the NFL so they can just write checks. And to me, if you're making decisions that have talent going out the door, negative number one, and two, if it's because of money, well, shame on you. They should have gone and bought a new yacht and toured through Monaco or done something.
And this is why we're so excited to be in studio, because we can have conversations like this that are definitely a little heated, but always so fun.
Oh,
I
man.
know, right? Almost an hour.
I sort of blacked out.
done?
I blacked out during that.
Yeah,
So.
a full hour. I love the new set.
Like Will Ferrell in Old School?
Lee says, I love the new set so much better than hearing DMAC reporting live from a sack of angry bees. But for real, awesome job, Rachel. Well, first of all, thank you. Yeah, thank goodness you don't wear your headphones anymore. Those were some rough days. But we're growing, and we are so excited to be in this new studio with you guys hanging out every single day, 10:30 a.m. James Marilat, DMAC, Rachel Veal. Thank you so much for hanging with us, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.